Between the decks.
Let's go.
Oh yeah, party people. This is DJ ha-MEEN.
Check. This is DJ Bella J.
DJ ha-MEEN.
DJ Bella J.
Between the decks. Between the decks.
Let's go.
Between the decks.
Let's go.
Yes, party people. Welcome to the very first recording of our brand new podcast, Between the Decks. This is DJ ha-MEEN. I'm coming to you with my homegirl,
DJ Bella J.
Hey, DJ Bella J.
Yes.
Listen, you need to tell everybody where we're recording this podcast from. Where are we right now?
At the one and only On the One DJ Center located at Destiny, USA.
In Syracuse, New York.
That's right.
All right. This podcast is going to be all about DJs and DJ culture. But you know what? Pretty much everything can be spoken about through the lens of DJs and DJ culture. So as the show goes on, you're going to hear guest interviews with other DJs, peoples of ours, people that we come across. You're going to hear about people who the DJs affect. So that includes dancers, club owners, promoters, bartenders, even bouncers. We're going to have the whole range of everything in here. Festival coordinators, all sorts of things. So this is a podcast really for everybody, because if somebody out there is listening and you've never heard a DJ, you've never been in a party with a DJ, I wonder what you're doing with your life. All right.
Yes.
So as we said, we're coming to you from the On the One DJ Center in Syracuse, New York. And I'm going to start this first question by asking my co-host, the lovely DJ Bella J, please tell us, who are you? Give us a little background.
I am a longtime resident of Syracuse, New York, proud of it. I grew up in New York City, where music influenced me most. I come from a musical family, so when I speak about who I am, I like to speak about my family's roots in music. My father, Gary Cohen.
Shout out to Gary Cohen. Wait, hold up. His name is Gary Coleman?
Cohen.
Oh, Cohen. I was about to say, wait,
yes.
Something's wrong here. Your father's name is Gary Coleman. That's crazy.
No,
right.
Cohen, yes.
That's your last name.
And, he would, in my mind, be considered the best singer ever.
Ooh.
And we talked about this before.
Better than T-Pain?
Better than T-Pain. He did a lot of doo-wop, was heavily influenced by doo-wop, street corner doo-wop in the streets of the Bronx when he was growing up. And, just music flowed through my household at a young age to where we sang, we danced. My sister choreographed all of our moves. So fast forward to now, that has heavily influenced my career as a DJ. It has led me to be the DJ for Destiny USA, the SU women's and men's basketball team.
Shout out to the Orange.
Yes, shout out to the Orange. DJing for the American Heart Association, Del Lago Casino, and opening up my own DJ center, the first one ever in Central New York.
Wow. Saying, DJ Bella J, I'm trying to be like you when I grow up.
I'm trying to be like you.
Listen, man, you are an inspiration to all of us jocks. So, as I said, my name is DJ ha-MEEN. I live in Ithaca, New York, and I come from a little city called Detroit, Michigan. What up, though, to all the people that know. I really have been a music head my whole life as well. Now, I also credit my father with the great majority of that. My mother loves music as well. Neither of them can sing, however, unlike your pops. So shout out to my father, Miguel. Shout out to my mother, Christine, for listening to a diverse range of music in the household growing up, from, disco to folk music to classic rock to doo-wop.
Nice.
My father used to buy me a lot of music. Here, listen to this. Here, listen to this. And, one reason that you and I connect so well is that we're both really, we've been hip hop heads in a serious way since we were children. And I like to tell people that one of the reasons that one of the reasons that I really grew into a hip hop identity in a way that's bigger than just casual fandom. I call myself a hip hop head. And when someone is a hip hop head, that means they're a serious fan, right?
That's right.
One of the things that contributed to that is talking to my father about music at a very young age, because there was really one genre of music that he didn't quite get at the time, and this is in the early and mid 1980s, and that's hip hop and rap music, right? And there's differences between those two things, but you feel me? And he would say, explain that to me. So he would get me to talk about it and think deeply about it. Unlike a lot of other fathers out there who were saying, boy, turn that off. That's not real music.
That's right. That happened a lot.
Yeah. So the parenting, it's funny how parents can lead a person down a path to being a DJ. So it all starts with us being music lovers. And I've been kind of I'll say I'm not quite a late bloomer, but I got real serious about DJing when I was in my approximately a decade ago. All right. Before that, I had rocked a couple of parties here and there, little record collection here, little CD collection over there. But I wasn't trying to promote myself. I wasn't trying to develop my skills. I wasn't purchasing equipment. I was just that dude who knew a lot about music and had a healthy collection. So, like I said, about a decade ago, I started to get real serious about it, and I'm very happy to say that I've been successful at it in my home city, and it's led me to do a couple of other interesting things, such as this podcast here, but also putting together lots of different events in Ithaca, New York, such as the Ithaca DJ Festival, which we did for 2 years. And then the pandemic hit, and we haven't gotten it back up and running just yet. Social persistencing DJ-thons, which we started doing right at the beginning of this pandemic. I like to organize lots of other things with other festivals, and I'm on various festival organization committees, put together things like silent discos and things of that nature. So I'm kind of just as much interested in organizing DJ events as I am being a DJ. So anyway, you'll learn a little bit more about who we are as the podcast goes on.
That's right.
Word. But suffice to say, we are not claiming to be the best DJs. We're not claiming to be the most experienced DJs. But we
are DJs.
We are DJs, and we claim that identity. That's right. And we want to talk to people out there about being a DJ. We want to talk to the audience about all the various facets of who we are, kind of lift back the hood, see what's under that hood. By the way, I just mentioned the pandemic. How have you been holding up during the pandemic, DJ-wise?
I've been doing the best that I can. I think this is a tough time for a lot of DJs. It allowed us to either be creative, or I've seen a lot of DJs go into a slump where it's like, this was only supposed to be a 3 to 4 month experience, and now it's over, it's almost 2 years. Mm-hmm. So for me, I really chose to use this time to think about what I can do next as a DJ.
And the center opened up during the pandemic, right?
That's right.
On the one. So it's like...
birth during the pandemic. Something good and great is coming out of this. Mm-hmm. And I did that intentionally,
So, for me, the pandemic has been, man, we took a serious hit with a lot of the DJ gigs that we normally would have done. I tracked in my, my little spreadsheet, all the gigs that got canceled and an approximate amount of money that I did not make as a result of all them gigs being canceled. Woo! It was quite a hit.
It was painful.
It's all good. Last thing we want to do is complain about, our lives are so much harder as a result. There's so many people out there suffering during this time.
That's right.
Our job really is to make people feel good. I would say that's kind of at the core of being a DJ. So just to set this table here as we begin this podcast journey together, let's talk a little bit about this question, because I don't know if there's a common understanding out there in the public. What is a DJ?
Yes. What is a DJ? There's some people that will define the DJ as someone no different from a jukebox. You
Ouch.
just pressing buttons. You're you're making it look more intricate than what it is, and I've seen that happen. And my goal right now is to show we should take DJs more serious. There's all different types. Some people's definition of a DJ may be different from mine. For me, we are curators. We create moments, we create experiences, we create unforgettable experiences. We can create energy through music and how we choose to manipulate music and put it together. That's different from the next DJ. DJs do many things and they are many things, but regardless of what, they should be respected.
There's a whole bunch of different ways of looking at what a DJ is. And I think that one thing we want to point out here is that this show is not just for people of a certain age like us, all right? This show is actually for, hopefully, everybody who's interested in music, interested in nightlife, and of course, people who are interested in DJing. And you working here at On The One DJ Center, you see a lot of young people learning to be a DJ. And they're what's the youngest people that you have working here? I mean, not working here, but like taking classes here.
Taking classes here, yes. So the youngest group that I've worked with is a group of 6-year-olds.
See, I would never have thought that young. Wow.
And see, that's the thing. I would love to go even younger than that. I would love to put a turntable and music in front of a toddler.
Wow. Well,
18
all right.
to 24 months, where they could put their hand on the turntable and just make this noise and be fascinated by it. I so see a baby doing that.
Listen, I when I describe what a DJ is, I'm gonna take the like textbook route, the dictionary route, and try to explain it to somebody. Have a common understanding from, like you said, age 6 to 600, whatever. You said the word curator. Yes, a DJ is a person that curates a soundscape, a person that weaves a sonic tapestry for a particular event or purpose, usually using pre-recorded music.
Yes.
So we're basically stitching together pre-recorded music. We're mixing these ingredients together like a chef. Now, if I'm a dope chef and I'm able to make some incredible, whatever, lamb chops or something, that doesn't mean I raised the lamb.
That's right.
So this is where some people get into this, like, y'all are not really musicians. Well, we're not claiming to be musicians in the same way that a guitar player is a musician, but there's a spectrum of what a music professional is, and where we exist is taking what other people have created, songs, and stitching it together to make something completely new, a tapestry of sound for an event. All right, so that's kind of like a textbooky way of talking about what a DJ is. We can get into the tools that a DJ uses. We can get into the medium. We can get into the equipment that they do or don't use. But there's a lot to be said about that. And we'll explore some of that later on, right? Vinyl versus digital versus all that. But I want to take a quick little tangent here, and I want to read something that's not so textbooky. This is more of I would call it more like a meditation on DJs by my big brother, Rich Medina. And he did a song called This Thing with Jimster. All right, so DJ Rich Medina in the song, this is, like I said, a meditation on DJs. And here's what he said, quote, "So this thing we do, it's really difficult to explain. You kind of really just got to be there to understand. But I'll do my best. And for the record, any ideas that are shared here, you can have them all. There are no new notes on a keyboard, and we have far too many ideas to keep them hoarded away. What we represent is the rhythmic side of life, the real-time stuff, between the lines and open to what's next. Preferably simple, yet capable of the absurdly complex. The music will take you where you want to go, yet never imagined. Transportation to new climates, beautiful memories, a chance to shake it all off every once in a while. A vacation from the voyeurism, and the choice to get involved. Put that phone down and get up. Get out from between your own ears. That's what this thing is all about. Because as you know, the whole world is a cheat sheet now. From city to shortcut city, the easy route is always one eye blink away from giving up on yourself. In times like these, with leaders like them, on a planet swarming with restless natives, treated more like royal subjects than citizens, prone to the whims of the king, that's why this thing we do is so universally relevant to a better life. So close quote. I'm going to stop right there because that song goes on and on. But like when I talk about meditation, like Rich is a poet. Rich is one of the deepest cats and one of my biggest DJ influences, by the way. And so I love this little sort of poem or meditation that he has in this song called This Thing. Everybody check it out. Download it wherever you get your music from. And let's get him some streams. But what are your thoughts about that? What you just heard me read off? Because you said you hadn't heard that song before today, right?
Never. I've never heard it. And I was just going to say, I think that is really cool. But the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear that is that maybe he wrote that for someone like Grandmaster Flash. It sounds like something Grandmaster Flash would say.
Yeah.
It's always cool to hear him talk about DJing. He makes it sound scientific and something done in the lab. And that right there was just like a very, very in-depth. Makes you close your eyes and just listen. Right. And that's just amazing.
Yeah, Flash loves to talk about himself like a scientist more than a musician.
Yes.
Grandmaster Flash, for those who don't know, one of the most celebrated DJs in hip-hop history and thus in all of DJ history.
That's right.
Because by the way, we are hip-hop centric here on this show, but we're not going to be all about discussing hip-hop. We're going to actually hope on this show we're going to interview DJs who play all different genres.
Yes.
And really, they don't identify themselves as hip-hop DJs. So Grandmaster Flash perfected the art of scratching,
yes, he did.
which, of course, was invented by Grand Wizard Theodore. That's one of your mentors, am I right?
I mean, he gave me a personal lesson. He was the one that told me, your hand is too heavy. I can tell that you have not handled vinyl. Maybe your mom or your dad never let you touch vinyl. And I said, you are exactly right. Who are you? How did you know that? He can tell. I mean, he was able to tell at the time, the weight of my hand just by looking at it. The difference in color of my skin, just to show that I'm pressing. He's like, no, be easy. Yo. Imagine you'll never get this record again.
Big love to Grand Wizard Theodore.
Yes.
Fantastic Romantic Five.
Yes. That we'll interview. He will be.
Word. Yeah, we'll get Theodore up on this at some point.
And I hope he remembers that moment like I remember it.
It's interesting that you and I, probably have so many of those moments that we've created for other people that they remember.
That's right.
But maybe it was just another gig to us. And it's interesting to reflect on those sorts of things. And I actually am very excited to talk to some of your young students as DJ mentors, as older heads who have had a specific amount of experience, and talk to them about the value of creating an experience for other people, an event for other people. Talk to them about creating something special for other people out there.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm excited about doing this show to be able to have those types of conversations. Giving one of the young kids that I'm working with the opportunity to talk about what DJing means at that age, I wish I had that opportunity.
Oh, man. Yes.
I wish, there was a platform like this to be able, to, again, have these conversations that are really important. Because the things that DJs go through to express themselves, to put themselves out there, that relates to a lot of art.
Right.
From artists to painters to photographers, so we have the ability to talk to a lot of different people and relate it to DJing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is about.
Absolutely. I'm so hyped about that. I'm particularly hyped about talking to dancers.
Oh.
Okay.
Especially at On The One.
Yeah.
They would know what On The One is.
We'll have to have a little cipher up in here at some point, which is, for those who don't know, a session of people getting together and exchanging creative ideas. And when you're talking about dancers in a cipher, they tend to be, in a circle with
yes.
one person in the center at a time. Another thing about this show, all right, we are going to be available wherever you get your podcasts normally, but One thing you might have noticed is that there are no DJ mixes in this recording right here. And the reason for that is because copyrighted music is usually used in a DJ set. And we can't put up, copyrighted music. It's going to, for free distribution wherever these podcasts are located. So what we're going to do is we're going to put up companion episodes, which is a DJ mix. We're going to put that up on our Mixcloud page because Mixcloud allows for the upload of copyrighted music so we don't get in trouble. We don't get the mix taken down. So we're going to have a link on all of our social media, all of our web pages where you can go listen to the companion mix for each particular episode.
That's right.
And for this episode, since we're just here to really introduce ourselves to you, we're going to have...
Drum roll.
Yes, indeed. We're gonna put up a custom mix by DJ Bella J and yours truly, DJ ha-MEEN. And we're gonna express to you our musical point of view. We're gonna express to you who we are through that mix. And we're gonna ask every subsequent DJ on this show to provide a mix that expresses their fullest range of creativity, not whatever they gotta play in the club to make the whoever dance. Sometimes we get into this thing where we have to play certain music just to keep the crowd dancing.
That's
and it's
right.
Not music that we love, but I discovered this a long time ago. I love making people dance, and I love to play music that I love. You know what I hate? I hate an empty dance floor more than anything.
Really?
So if I'm going to play a song that I'm not particularly fond of, or a song that I think is not good, but it's going to make the group of people who happen to be at that venue at that time, if it's going to make them dance and really get going, I'll throw it out there. Not that I'm going to stay in that lane the whole time, but this is what we got to talk about. This is what I don't think people don't understand. What's up with requests? What's up with this whole thing about a DJ playing the same song at every single gig for the whole month or whatever? Why is that?
Right.
We're going to get into that with every DJ we interview.
I was almost about to get into it, but I'm going to wait.
No. Get into it just for a minute.
So the idea of requests, that has always been something that I just did not understand why DJs hated it so much. Just like you said, an empty dance floor. If you took a request, you can hold on to, most DJs experience a empty dance floor. That is a technique to use to get people to the dance floor. I always take requests.
Taking a request.
I will leave a notebook and a pen next to my setup, write it down. We don't have to talk.
Yeah.
Write it down, and I'm going to download the song if I don't have it. Ooh. I'm going to play it through Tidal if I don't have it. Or if I have it, I'm going to play it.
Right.
I'm going to do that for them. And I let them know sometimes, when you hear this song, grab who you with to the dance floor.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
You have them happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. And it's also, again, it's a technique to keep in your back pocket if you had to.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I discovered that a long time ago. I'm not a big fan of requests, but I'm less of a fan of an empty dance floor. What I don't like, sometimes people make requests and then they just leave, or they're in the bathroom, or they're at the bar, and you're like, damn, where was that person who made that request? And once in a while, somebody makes a request, and they're so insistent, and you think to yourself, I don't want to play that song. But you know what? I bet it's going to get this crowd going, and it turns out to flop. And this happens to, look, I am not in my teens, and I am not in my 20s.
Right.
And sometimes there's music that young people are into that I just haven't heard before. Who has the time to get familiar with all the latest stuff coming out, right?
That is right.
So if they're like, look, I want to hear this song by little so-and-so. All right. If I have it, I'm going to play it because you're so insistent that this crowd is going to explode when I play it. And it turns out that it really isn't. That's a bummer.
Yes.
So that's why, knowing your audience is kind of important. And you know what? Every now and again, a DJ finds themselves in front of an audience that they do not know.
That's right.
I live in a college town. So it's frequently the case that I got a lot of, 21, 22-year-olds. And I'm thinking, wow, they are not on the same wavelength as me. I don't know what to do here.
That is true. Not only that, I want to go back to the point that you made about the types of requests that we get. I really cannot stand the person that says, you have to play it now because I'm leaving.
Oh, yeah.
That is the most popular reason. Like, that's not going to make me play the song any faster. There's things, and this is, again, the reason why we're having these conversations, just to bring people into the life of a DJ. There's things that we have to do to work in a request. You know, we have to pay attention to things as the BPM, the genre of music we may be in. You know, we may want to play it a certain way, and you can't just do that right away.
Yeah, you got to mix it in so it makes sense. You just use the phrase BPM. Tell the people what that means, because we don't want to assume everyone listening understands these. So this is part of what I'm talking about, demystifying DJs. We're going to explain things to you that you might not have ever known. So what's BPM and why is it important?
BPM stands for beats per minute. The less beats per minute in a song, the slower the song. The more beats per minute in a song, the faster the song. Knowing what the BPM is allows us to do things like blend two songs together, keeping a party continuous, making it sound like one track, gradually bringing up the crowd and bringing them down. We would do that by paying attention to what we call the BPMs.
Right.
It's important, people, and we're going to talk more about the BPMs.
Yes.
And why we may not get to your request. It was the BPM. We blame it on the BPM.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny that, you know, there's beats per minute. There's also genre. There's also energy.
Yes.
Some songs have a slow BPM, but they have a very high energy, and we have to pay attention to that stuff.
That's what we're experiencing now.
What happens? What I find that, you know, if I don't consider these things and I just go straight from wherever I am into this request that a person is so insistent on, it's like shifting a car from fifth gear to second gear. You missed all the stuff in between, and it feels very abrupt. It feels a little bit strange. It doesn't quite work.
That's right.
You know, and we're gonna demonstrate that in a future show where we're gonna hook up some equipment.
Yes.
And we're gonna pick some music that is not copyrighted.
That's right.
And we're gonna show, here's a high energy slow BPM song, or here's a low energy high BPM song, and here's blending them together. Notice the feel of it.
Yes.
And you're basically going to give fundamentally a lesson about that. We might even have an audience, talking back to us, giving us some questions. Speaking of questions, we're going to have our contact information in all the show notes. We want you to reach out, ask your questions. Please communicate with us. We're going to address things that you want to know on this show. And
things you need to know. There's going to be some things that we feel you need to know about DJs.
Some of your medicine. You got to take your medicine, people.
That's right.
All right. So, Bella J, there's one thing you didn't mention when you introduced yourself that I wonder if you can just talk to us a little bit about. And that is the latest big project that you put together this past August. Here in Syracuse, New York. Talk to us about the On the One annual DJ festival. What was that?
If you missed it, don't worry. That was the first annual. It will be happening every year, and I'm gonna make sure of it.
And where was it?
It was at the New York State Fair.
The New York State Fair.
The New York State Fair. Now, I wanted it at the fair because that is like the biggest thing happening in upstate New York every year.
Tens of thousands of people.
Draws people from all over the state of New York, even outside of the state of New York.
That's right.
And all of the years that I've been going, I've never seen a DJ as the main attraction, the focus, or a lineup.
The New York State Fair.
At the New York State Fair. And I said, you know what? On the One is going to change that.
Word.
We did it during a pandemic. And
it was outdoors, just so people know. It was outdoors.
It was outdoors. I reached out to DJs from all different levels of experience. Some started during the pandemic.
Tell me about why you did that. Why did you make the choice? Because I was one of the DJs that you invited. So thank you very much. I appreciate the love. And I was there the whole time. I got to see, I think, all but the very first DJ. And there was a whole range of experience.
Yes.
Tell us why you made that choice. Why not just include completely seasoned, mature, fully developed DJs?
Because when I started, I felt people's expectations of what I should be and completely disregarded my beginnings to the point where I had to explain sometimes. I would say how long I was DJing. And I remember conversations where people would tell me, Jasmine, don't say that anymore. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting, you're doing just as good as, maybe even better than a lot of these DJs around you, and they don't like it. So it's my intention to show DJs that are coming up, own the fact that you are starting off. Do not put any pressure on yourself. Move at your own pace. But we do need to have these conversations to let people know, this is a career that I can pursue. It makes a lot of people happy.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't pursue it because it's not taken serious in our families, where if we tell our parents we're going to be a DJ and it's not what year, no, you're not. They don't offer that as a bachelor's degree category or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So, but that it is a viable career. And when we're starting off, we should be accepted at that level, not with 1,000 different expectations.
Right.
So yes, I wanted to put on the stage someone that was 6 months deep and someone that you can just tell from the first scratch that they've been doing this for years.
Right.
And we had all of that, all in the state of New York.
Now, you and I very much see eye to eye on that in terms of displaying and celebrating the diversity of DJs, the range of musical points of view and styles, but also the range of experience. So as I mentioned in my intro, I've also put together DJ events with multiple DJs, the Ithaca DJ Festival, Ithaca Festival of Silent Discos, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you've rocked at some of those. I even had you teach a workshop at one of my festivals, which was like a new dimension. But I took some heat from some folks for inviting a couple of relatively inexperienced DJs to perform. And this is against the backdrop of there being way too many DJs to fit into it. Because between me and you, I'm sure we know about 250 to 300 different DJs locally.
Yes.
In this region of central New York. And it's tough to tell a person, hey, look, I know you have been a DJ, a well-known DJ in the area, and I'm not going to put you on this here roster right now because I want to give somebody who's only been doing it for 6 months a shot. It's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, but we have to figure out ways to do this. And I kind of think about it like, maybe a boxing match. All right, there's always there's undercards, there's less experienced boxers, and then there's a main event, or any other type of exhibition. I don't know, maybe a karate exhibition or something like that, where you watch the little kids, and then you watch the teenagers, and then you watch the adults. And I think that it's really important as part of the overall show because the audience needs to know how diverse we are. We're multi-generational, multi-gendered, multi-racial, multi-ethnic, multi-socioeconomic, multi-talented, multi-equipment, multi-point of view.
Talk
everything.
About it, list it all.
Hey.
And we're going to touch on all of that. I literally cannot even sit still in my seat. I wish you guys could see me right now. I mean, this podcast started right off of these conversations we would have, and it stirs our energy. Seriously, you are mentioning so many different things that is really important to touch on. Being able as DJs to embrace each other is a hard thing to do.
That's right.
And it goes against kind of how DJing started, the culture of DJing started. They were very protective over their skills. They were very protective over their music, over their vinyl. They didn't want anyone looking over their shoulder. They would do things like tape the song so you didn't see and you couldn't play their playlist the way they did.
Block off the labels,
right? You block the labels. You don't really embrace each other. You set claim. You claim sets, or however you want to say that.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel that that's a level of competition that should be there, but it should be balanced. We should also be embracing those coming up under us.
Yes.
And when you see them trying, don't knock them down or don't call them whack. And that I want to touch on because that was the most disappointing part of the DJ festival for me. Was people response, and not just people, DJs. I, in my mind, thought it was very clear
Right.
what my intentions were. And I've learned the lesson that no, everybody does not and will not understand your intentions. You got to be okay with that. But I'm still a little bit not okay with it.
So somebody told you, hey, why did you have that young kid perform?
I had one of the DJs tell me that some of they were disappointed by the talent on the stage.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yes.
And that reveals that person's attitude about DJ community. I think community is a big word here. We talk about culture. Part of the culture is community.
Absolutely.
And what are our community values here? What are our cultural values here? If we're talking about ourselves as a community and a culture, we have to establish what those things are.
Yes.
And yes, some people are very insular. All they can do is think about every other DJ out there is in competition with me for a gig.
Yeah.
Right? Or that person over there doesn't have the same level of skill as me. Therefore, they are not good. And I think that that's really, really interesting. This doesn't need to be competitive in that same way.
Knowing when to be. Mm-hmm. This is a learning experience for me, and I'm going to keep saying that because that was my first time planning an event. It was something that I really wanted to do to get the experience because I know that the next year was going to be even bigger and better. There was talks about the next year for the first meeting, for the first one, so they allowed me to do the festival because they saw the vision for one, right? So when I explained it to different DJs and I reached out to the DJs that I wanted to start off the first one, I thought it was kind of clear, that this was to bring DJs together, to give us a platform, that was never given to us at that
right.
at that venue, or in that space.
And shout out to the New York State Fair people.
Please.
Listen, because
let's shout them out.
They did not have to give you the space to put this thing together.
They sure didn't.
And that's, I can relate when I was doing my Ithaca DJ Festival. Shout out to Nick and TJ, the Finger Lakes Thaw Festival. It was underneath the auspices of their festival that we were able to do that. So it is really all about partners.
Yes.
It's about people believing in you to put something together in a competent and enjoyable way for the crowd. And the fact that now they're talking to you about next time just is the proof that you did a good job, that you brought something to the people that needed to be brought to them, needed to be added to the festival, needed to be added to that event. So I'm in complete awe of what you put together, working with that large organization, the New York State Fair. For those who don't know, it's a massive undertaking. It's a festival that takes place. It's a fair. It takes place over the course of 2 whole weeks.
Yes.
They take a whole year. Yeah, the whole year planning it. They have international mega stars who come and perform on the stages. They have just maybe we'll be talking a lot more. Maybe we can get those folks on the show. I don't know, but we can talk a lot more about the fair. It happens every August.
Absolutely. I do have to add though. That my thinking of the fair was inspired by the Ithaca DJ Festival. When I arrived, because I always envision what it's going to be like. I think about, the events before I arrived, and I've never been invited to a DJ festival before.
No doubt.
So when I walked in, it just kind of blew me away like, whoa.
What do you remember?
We got different stations, the lights, the projectors, my name in big letters that was going to be seen behind me. And
shout out to Jay's son. My man Jay's son put that light show together.
He did. And when you mentioned him to me, he helped me with the festival at the New York State Fair, and he's going to help with the next one again.
He's the truth.
So shout out to him.
So you talking about a DJ hating on the fact that you invited a lesser developed, let's say, DJ, and they referred to it as not being happy with the talent on the stage. Now you actually answered a question I was going to ask that I think we're going to have to ask every guest we interview. I think that it's important for moving things forward and developing the DJ community, and that is, what is a pet peeve that you have about the DJ community and DJ culture? And so you just talked about one. You talked about more developed DJs really discrediting a younger person who's not younger, but a lesser developed person who's been given an opportunity to enter a different phase of their DJ career. And I agree with you. I think that that is a terrible, a terrible scar on our community when that happens.
It's a terrible scar, but I get it. I get it. Because I think the thinking for not wanting DJs at a beginner level to have that type of, not to say that they didn't want them to have the platform, but to be at a certain level. Mm-hmm. A lot of DJs are training themselves. They're doing a lot themselves. And again, I want to circle that back to On the One. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why I wanted to also open a place where you can learn, you know, so that when you do start for the first time, there is a skill level there. You know, you've been shown the ins and outs of, you know, of the beginnings of DJing, how to mix two songs and paying attention to the rhythm of songs and being on beat and putting things in sync with each other, using turntables, but then being able to advance to whatever equipment you want. You know, those are the things that I stress at On the One. So I think that some of the DJs would say, put yourself out there until you have a certain skill level. And I just don't think that that's a good thing all the time, because a lot of the times, you know, they are in love with music and they really want to do it. And if that was like my daughter, or, you know, I would encourage her to get out there as early as she could. You know, you're going to learn along the way, right? So I think that we have to rethink what DJs used to think. You know, it's bigger than what they thought it was going to be. You know, the possibilities right now are endless compared to, you know, what they thought it might have been, you know, when it started.
Right.
Right? So let people pursue it.
Word. I agree with you 100%. That's not totally dissimilar from my pet peeve that I'm going to list here. Mine is a little bit different. It's kind of like the opposite, though. And there's a thing that I've observed with maybe a few individuals out there. One in particular really comes to mind, but I've seen it with a couple folks. And it's individuals in a professional context who refer to themselves as this, that, and they list all these accomplishments, and I'm a DJ. When in fact, they're not engaging with the DJ community. They're not someone who ever performs out. And they're people who don't build with other DJs when invited to do so. So this is what lately, one of my pet peeves that I've been thinking about is, you know, somebody who's not, possibly not a DJ. All right. Now, that's the hot take, because someone out there is going, who are you to say what a DJ is?
Right.
And I want to emphasize, I love DJ diversity. Okay? I love different ways of thinking about it. I love different ways of mixing music together. I love how some people approach it purely artistically, and I can appreciate very much how some people approach it purely financially. I'm not mad at that. But there's something in common that all those DJs have, and that is putting their work out there for public consumption in some way. Whether you're spinning at a club, whether you're a wedding DJ, whether you're making mixes for some, you know, elevator music in some department store, whether you're making mixes you're only just uploading them online. But have you ever met a DJ who goes on and on and on about how they're a DJ, but you've actually never heard anything they've done and you've tried? They don't put their mixes up online. They don't spin out anywhere. They don't want to talk to you about DJing when you bring it up. So what's the latest music that you're into? What equipment do you use? And they just try to avoid the question. I think that there are some people out there who are cynically saying that they're a DJ as a way to market themselves. And they are speaking to people who are not going to press that. They're speaking to people who go, oh, okay, cool. And so it gives them the opportunity to look extra talented, extra creative, when in fact all they've done is they played music at a party at one point in time, probably not so competently, and they get to say, well, I'm a DJ. Now that's like me saying I made myself a bowl of oatmeal, therefore I am a chef. or whatever. I mean, there's lots of different.
Can't technically do that.
Word. There's lots of different ways you could put it. And I, when I say it's a cynical thing, well, I'm for the audience here who might not really understand the way I'm using that word. Cynical in the definition, in a dictionary definition, is, and this is there's multiple definitions. How about this one? Concerned only with one's own interests and typically disregarding accepted or appropriate standards in order to achieve them. And then the example quote is a cynical manipulation of public opinion. Mm-hmm. So once again, somebody who is just completely self-serving and is this is like a buzzword in academia and other words, but they are culturally appropriating.
Yes.
DJing.
Yes.
They're not giving back to the community. They're not involved in the community. They're not talking to the community. They're just happy to put, I'm this and I'm this and I'm this. Oh, and I'm a DJ as well. And there are some celebrities who say that. I'm talking about even. Here's where I draw the line is that some people never make their work known. Even Paris Hilton spins publicly. Now, whether or not she's actually mixing or playing a pre-recorded mix, that's a different discussion altogether. DJs should not be just pumping their fists and playing a pre-recorded mix. But
some would say, why not?
I got this problem with people who take what me and you and people in our community have invested so much blood, sweat, and tears into. Time, blood, sweat, tears, time, and money.
That's right.
We put all that stuff into it, and then they are not doing the same thing, but just the same, putting it at the end of their email quote, or they're putting it on their business card or their website or whatever.
Yes.
And there's nobody challenging that because there aren't that many DJs in the spaces that they find themselves, and I find it to be pretty infuriating. And it's tough to call out because you can't just tell a person you're not a DJ. You can't just do that.
Right. That's right.
Listen.
And you can't say, oh, you did not carry crates. You do not know what it's like to spin vinyl. If you don't know that, you're not a DJ.
Well,
and I sit on the fence a little bit on that.
I'm not even talking about whether or not you carry crates or spun vinyl. I'm talking about, did you put a mix together from your own brain using songs that you chose yourself, and you did it publicly, either by uploading your mix to whatever website or by doing it for an audience. And some people, like I'm telling you, if I had a dinner party and I was like, damn, I got this one dinner party I've never really cooked before, but I'm gonna make these people like a pizza in my oven. Do I therefore get to call myself a chef from that point forward? I don't know about that. I think that people who are, pizza chefs would have a little bit of beef with that. Anyway, I feel like
I would have a beef with that. I mean, my second passion, well, I don't even want to call it a second. One of my other passions is cooking.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So no, you cannot make a pizza and call yourself a chef. You need to know technique. You need to have flavor. Mm-hmm. You need to have appearance. Mm-hmm. Again, there are different types of chefs though, right? There's different types of DJs, but absolutely knowing the fundamentals, knowing the foundation of DJing is a must. Is a must. There's so much to say about that. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah,
we are.
This is going to.
You're going to have to keep listening.
This is going to pop up from time to time. But listen, I'm just talking about. I'm. Even if you claim to know the fundamentals, because you can walk around talking about, oh yeah, I know the fundamentals. But if nobody ever has any proof that you, in fact, are doing the thing that you claim, to me, that's singularly insulting. So anyway, that's the pet peeve section of this show. We're going to ask every person that we interview from this point forward, hey, tell us what's a pet peeve. And we'll see if they repeat some of these. I'm kind of curious what else is out there. So listen, party people, we don't want to go on too long. We're going to try to keep these episodes somewhat snackable and bite-sized for you so it's not too much. But once again, I want to encourage everybody to head to our show profile, our show notes, our social media, our website. Check out our Mixcloud link. Go over there and listen to the custom mixes that we put together for this episode to introduce ourselves to you. Yes, and we'll catch you next time, party people. All right? On the count of three, we say peace. 1, 2, 3. Peace. Between the Decks is brought to you by On the One, Central New York's first DJ center, located at the Destiny USA Mall in Syracuse, New York. Our theme music was composed by DJ Tech One. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Between the Decks wherever you listen to your podcasts. Our social media and contact info is located in the show notes. Please reach out and connect with us. Thanks for your support. Peace.